Hi, everyone. Oh, that was loud. Sorry about that. Thanks for having me today. So I think you're wondering who am I and what am I doing here? I'm actually from the European Fintech Association. I have two hats in one of my many professional lives. I'm a government and public affairs manager at N26, the German mobile bank, which you may or may not have heard about. My other hat is actually being Secretary General at the European Fintech Association, and that is my capacity in which I'm speaking to you here today, so very excited to be here. At the European Fintech Association, we have members from all across the European Union, so that is why I've also been asked to come here today and to maybe also provide a broader outlook on the European Union as such, in addition to what you're doing and looking at Latvia here today. So let's get started. What is the European Fintech Association? We were founded in 2020 because we thought that there wasn't really a presence for fintech in Brussels that was advocating for the interests of fintech industry. There were associations for banking, there were associations for tech, but just that unique combination wasn't really represented at that point. So we thought, let's just do it ourselves. We're really happy that now, 2 years after, and of course also taking the pandemic into consideration and everything, the EFA is very proactively sought after by European policymakers. So we're getting approached a lot by them just to share industry views, to say what's on our mind, what our main concerns are. So just to give you a rough overview, like in the last year, we had more than 25 meetings with key decision makers from the European Commission, from the European Parliament, and so on. So I'm happy about that. We have also been approached by various media publications to sort of just comment on developments. And we've also just very much submitted input on legislative files, such as the anti-money laundering package or the Consumer Credit Directive. So it's good to see that even just after 2 years, we've been able to have such a significant impact. So what are we actually trying to achieve with the European Fintech Association? We want to deliver better financial services to all Europeans. I think just delivering better financial services is what motivates us as fintech in general. But I think why we came together is that instead of being like, oh, we're a German fintech or we're a French fintech, we see ourselves as just there for all Europeans, and that's why we want to work together. We wanted to also provide a platform for our members to exchange views across country borders and to advocate on relevant EU policy and legislation. Our approach is very consumer-centric, so that means that we think we also want to always find the best solution for the consumer. And to that end, we're very much encouraging proportionate regulation that supports European financial innovation and also facilitates more seamless market access across all the different markets in the European Union for a real, true, integrated financial European market. So to that end, we support the transparent use and the protection of data, use of insights to build efficient processes to combat illegal activities. And we're also working towards a more risk-based and harmonized standard across the EU when it comes to financial services. We are a member-driven association, so you know how there's different kinds of associations and sort of their organizational background. Ours is that we really want to be the voice of the industry, and in order to do that, we really are looking towards our members to contribute to what we're doing. So, as I said in the beginning, I'm also working at N26, and that is true for pretty much all our members that are working in the association. So rather than having like an office in Brussels that is a bit removed from day-to-day business, all of our members that are active within the association also have day-to-day jobs in their respective companies, be it as general counsel, be it as public affairs manager, or be it as risk officer. They all can very much report to what their different challenges are in their day-to-day business life. And we're currently having about 40 fintechs that are members of the European Fintech Association, with a total market cap of more than 225 billion euros, which I think also just shows what big of a role fintech is playing nowadays in the European Union. And if you just have a look at our members, you might also see some names that you recognize. We've also seen Mintos before on the slides. Mintos is also a member of the European Fintech Association. And just if all of this sounds good to you and you're thinking you might want to become involved, we're also always still looking for new people to join us. So, as I said, I was approached by Tina and by the Latvian Fintech Association to sort of speak a bit more about industry trends in general. And to that regard, I mean, I could have come here today and tell you what sort of regulation will come into effect in the next year and really get down to the nitty-gritty of policy. But I think what's so interesting about fintech is that we're always trying to anticipate what will come next. And to that end, I think it's also important to look at what the trends are globally and not just what's happening on the regulatory basis in the European Union. So for this just context, we're going to be focusing on 5 trends. One is a digital wallet first economy, which just sort of means that there's an ongoing shift we're seeing to digital and contactless payments. The rise of CBDCs, decentralized finance, banking in the cloud, and also open finance. So let's see. A wallet-first economy. I think what you can see here is that it's just quite impressive to see where we were back in 2020 and where predictions are supposed to go into 2025. Looking at these numbers, I think Europe is still relatively small in there, in like the bottom third, with Asia and Pacific just like leading the field overall. So at the end of 2020, there were over 2.8 billion mobile wallets in use, but this is projected to increase by nearly 74% over the next 5 years, which I think is quite a substantive increase. As I said, other regions such as the Middle East or Southeast Asia, they're way beyond the European Union. We're seeing discussions in the European Union. We've made some great progress, for example, on eIDAS, but in the European Union, we're still like at the very beginning. And this is also due to, member states not really, or like to different degrees, deciding whether to adopt digital wallets. I know that, for example, the Baltics have been very future forward in this, but if we're looking to other markets, the development has not been the same. So as there is a shift towards digital and contactless solutions, it is still not the widest used method in the European Union. We've, of course, seen significant advances, especially due to the pandemic, where people were just happy that they just had to touch their phone and not anything else. But there's still, of course, a long way to go, and I think it is upon all of us to also really make policymakers aware that we want this adoption not just in our single member states, but across the European Union, just for a more seamless customer experience. The next one would be central banks going digital. You might have heard it or not, but the European Central Bank is currently in its investigation phase towards a digital euro that is supposed to end in 2023. Sadly, that means that while we are, somewhat on the beat as we're looking at these overall statistics, Europe again is not really leading the field. There is other regions worldwide that are doing a much better job at looking at this and just really being on it. So we're still doing research. We're in the sort of purplish bit of the pie, but as you can see, there's already pilot projects and development, like a significant amount going on in other regions. We even have 11 countries that have already fully launched a digital currency, such as Jamaica or the Eastern Caribbean or even Nigeria, and that sort of begs the question why we are lagging behind in the European Union when we even have this shared currency, so it should be easy, right? Decentralized finance is being just financial services increasingly being performed privately. And you can see just looking at this, the graph starts at August 17, we have seen a massive rise since January 21. So I think this one, again, and also like looking at decentralized cryptocurrencies is something that will become majorly important. Again, here, not so sure to what extent this is on the agenda of policymakers. We have seen that there has been development on MiCA. We have seen that the European Union now probably is thinking about taking further steps on crypto, but it's just not something that is at the forefront right now. So this is something that I think is also a development that we need to be very, very mindful of, especially looking at the staggering rise that we've seen from January 21 until now already. Banking in the cloud is another one. I think less so in terms of actual financial developments, but especially what we're seeing with new fintech, trying to make processes more seamless, trying to make them leaner, is that, I don't know in your experience, but in my experience, a lot of fintech just have their services in the cloud already. This will only continue. So 25% of IT budgets will focus on cloud services by 2024. So that's a very, very significant amount. And also bank spending on public cloud services are expected to grow by 16.2% at each year until 2024. What this means is a lot of us are using primarily American providers of cloud services. And the feedback that we're increasingly getting from European policymakers is, oh, why don't you use a European solution? Isn't there a European solution that you could use? There is a European solution. It's been in the talks for many years. It's called Gaia-X. However, we've not really seen sufficient progress for this to being a competitive solution that people would use, because as much as a lot of fintechs in Europe would like to use a European cloud solution, in the end, because you're so focused on providing your consumer with the best services, what are you going to do if this solution is just not going to be competitive? You're of course going to look elsewhere. Again, we've also seen with Gaia-X companies such as Huawei or Palantir joining the consortia. So the question is also, is this still the European solution? And just thinking about it, like, where will we be storing this data? Is there potentially a European way to do it? Also looking at how many companies will be increasing their spending significantly on moving their data to the cloud is, I think, something that we need to be very mindful of here. And last but not least, open finance. I think open finance is something that we will be looking at that has the power to transform financial services in the most meaningful way over the next couple of years. We, as the European Fintech Association, have contributed to the last consultation on open finance, but I think this is something we need to look most closely at when we're talking about finding best solutions for our customers. We need to put consumers in control of their data. I think the handling of the data in regards to open finance is something that will be very important to get right, to sort of really give the consumer the power to say, here's a simple dashboard, decide where your data is going and also what kind of data is going there. There are so many advantages to open finance. I mean, I obviously don't need to tell the round of you here, but I think in general, it just enables our consumers to really find the option that is just right for them. And in the end, that is what it's all about for us. I mean, we're not saying that there's a market only for fintech, there's a market only for banks. We're saying that there should be a level playing field for everyone, and essentially it should be up for the consumer to decide what's the best solution for them. Maybe it is a mix, maybe it is one, maybe it is the other, but it should really be up to the consumer to decide what fits their financial planning better, what's important for them to take care of their financial well-being. So just to sort of wrap this up and looking at where we are at and what we can do in the future. What does fintech have to offer? I think what fintech can really bring to sort of the more traditional world of the financial services industry is that we can deliver something that is very comprehensive, that's innovative, and that's understandable. It's something that very much is there for the consumer to deal with intuitively. We also want to be there for all consumers. There is not something that we're not a group that we're specifically targeting or that we're excluding. We're saying, like, we want to provide a great solution for everyone that chooses this solution. And I think that is even more important in terms of crises. I think we have just seen that, for example, one trend in Latvia is financial literacy. I think that is a very important European-wide trend, because the job that we can do as fintech is we can actually help people to be prepared. Can we prevent crises such as inflation, recession, whatnot? I don't think we have that power, but what we can do is we can help people feel more confident in their own financial well-being, even in times of crisis, because that is actually what we can bring to the table in this situation. So where are we currently at? I think Europe has the potential to bring about great innovation in fintech. I think we're seeing this in all markets. I think we're seeing this also especially in the Baltics. However, we're really lacking a future-forward approach. As I said, like these trends that I just showed you are not necessarily trends where the European Union is at the forefront. I'm not saying we're doing a bad job, I think we're doing an okay job. On some ends we're doing good, in general we're doing an okay job. But the question we really need to ask ourselves is that enough? If we really want to be a strong European Union that also has some sort of strategic autonomy, I think we need to do better and we need to become even more innovative. And to that end, I think we need a real European digital single market for financial services that is really borderless, that allows your customers also to take your services from one country to the next country without having any significant hiccups on that. And finally, I think we also need more courage for Europe to become a pacemaker rather than an early adopter. This is truer for some European countries than others. I know that there's different degrees to which European countries are eager to become innovative, to which they're a bit more cautious, but I think it is also up to the economy and to fintechs in that extent to give a bit more of a push to our own policymakers and also to European policymakers to really get us there. So with that, I hope that has been a bit of an insight from the European perspective. If you have any questions, concerns whatsoever, also want to do more about our work or our positions, just check our website. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the program has in store for us next. Thank you.